Broadcasting from the Wild Rose Casino and Hotel Studios. You'd rather be here. We are KCIM.
Wednesday morning, it's John Ryan, Nathan Cones, and a very special guest in the studio with us this morning. We hope to have two, and we hope to eventually have two by the end of the interview, but we'll see about that.
He'll get here.
He better get here.
Yeah. We've got Kimberly Tiefenthaler, the Executive Director of the Chamber and Carroll County Growth Partnership with us here this morning, and we're going to be joined with Aaron Kooiker, the city manager, here before too long, but the ball falls on you, Kimberly. You've got to take it and run with it here this morning, so you're gonna bear the brunt of all of our hard questions for now. And the first one, Chiefs Niners. What do you got?
Oh boy.
I know. See, we're jumping right into the deep end here.
I got nothing. I'm going to stay neutral.
You have to pick.
I do?
You have
I'm
to
going
pick.
to go with the Chiefs.
You have chosen poorly.
We'll see Sunday. Anti-Brock Purdy is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting too. No.
All right. So
that's an Indiana Jones quote, by the way, if you didn't catch that.
What's that?
The Last Crusade, when he drinks the cup from the Grail, and then you've chosen poorly. Nobody?
Seriously, anything past the first one was awful. I didn't watch any of them.
After three, it was bad.
Should we talk business here a little bit?
While
we're waiting for Aaron, let's talk Chamber Banquet. It's coming up tomorrow night. Kimberly, you guys ready for this?
We are. We've done a lot of good planning, and we've got a number of people that are going to be in attendance, some great awards that are going to be given out. So, yes, we are ready. We're excited about it, and it's always a great celebration of the year in review, as we could say, and just looking at those folks that work hard and deserve some recognition, and a lot of those folks that get the recognition are behind the scenes doing little things, but those things add up over time and are very much appreciated. So it's an exciting evening.
It's always fun to see that people get you guys do a heck of a job. We talked about last time you were in here, keeping it secret for the folks. You can grab a seat, Aaron. You're good. But you do a really good job surprising the winners. They almost never, they're maybe suspicious at best, but they never seem to know for sure.
Once in a while, we don't get away with it, but there's a lot of white lies that behind the scenes, and kind of through a chain of people that those things get accomplished.
Deception sometimes can be used for a good cause.
That's right. That's right.
So, Aaron Kooiker joining us once again. You're going to have to stay 5 minutes late, by the way. You've been penalized.
I'm sorry.
In his defense, he was doing city work.
I was meeting with the mayor, so I was meeting with our mayor, so you're going to have to blame the mayor a little bit.
All right, Jerry, we're holding you responsible for this.
Sounds like you're passing the buck to me.
Your first chamber banquet here in Carroll, that's going to be a fun experience.
Actually, technically, it's the second one.
Oh, really?
We were at it last year.
I was there. I was moving into town, and I called the acting city manager, Jeff Kaler, just to talk to him, and he goes, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm moving into the house. We're going to stay on air mattresses." He goes, "No, you're going to stay at my house, and you're also got to clean up and get to the chamber banquet." Oh, okay.
So second one around. So you're kind of familiar with how it all rolls.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be coming up tomorrow night. What time is that, Kimberly?
5:30.
5:30 for the social, and the dinner starts
6.
6. All right, so that's going to be fun. We're going to try to have the Citizen of the Year.
Hopefully, if their schedule works, we'll hopefully have that winner in on Friday morning. It's not you, Aaron. So you're putting your hands up in victory.
Yeah, that's right.
Give it a few years, and then maybe you got a shot. But let's jump right into the downtown report, the assessment. Of course, I was at the end of November. A lot of excitement about that report. The meeting you guys had at the end where they kind of gave the prelim review. It was a full house, basically, at Western Iowa Networks. A lot of people interested in not just business owners or members of the public, leaders of nonprofit organizations, like a large swath of people coming in. But that big report finally here, 41 pages, and it is a doozy, shall we say. A lot of information in there. So we're just going to kind of run from start to finish pretty quickly through it. I think one of the first things to start off at, and it's important to remember this, is that the positives that they listed for the community, they outright say, we don't see this. We do not see this in the communities we visit. So it's important, I think, for people to remember that Carroll is still very well positioned. If you guys could talk a bit about that.
Absolutely. When you read that report from the people that reported back in, I guess, from the survey that we did a fantastic job of reporting or getting responses on, there's a lot of people that felt, JCPenney's closed, there's nothing downtown. Well, there actually is a lot of businesses, and they really highlighted that in their conversations. And I think the big picture for us is we need to promote that now. and we've really got some preliminary ideas on how we're going to promote that, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. But yeah, we've really got a good base to work on, and that's what we're looking forward to here coming up in the future.
Yeah, that's the first thing they mentioned is the information's not getting out. I mean, we need to market the fact that there are those businesses downtown, and yes, there's areas to work on, but first of all, you got to get the word out what's there right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So, well, how do we do that, Kimberly?
Well, like Aaron said, we're gonna put together a marketing plan, and we're gonna work with, IEDA has some thoughts and ideas about that, and they also have a specialist that we can work with. But we've got local people too, local specialists that we can work with to put together things like that. So, I think it's pulling people together that already know how to do that locally and executing that. So I think it'll be good. Is
this the first time like the city and the chamber are really in sync with this kind of a project? I don't know. Aaron can't really speak about the history of it, but it's always seemed like the chamber has been on board with something, and then maybe the city isn't.
My understanding is I would have to answer that and say yes. From just conversations that I've had about the past, and I've had a lot of good conversations with prior directors and board members. I think we're positioned better than we have been maybe ever, and certainly in a long time, for the chamber and the city to work closely together and to execute this and to do it well.
And Aaron, your experience at other cities as have they worked with the chambers that closely with the city and the chamber?
Yes and no. One of the things I'm going to kind of sidestep that question and just kind of talk about what coming into this community. One of the things I really wanted to do is build relationships with a number of different people in the community, and obviously building a relationship and working relationship with the chamber was extremely important to me because that is our economic growth partner to work with, and I'd heard some rumblings. There's nobody at fault per se, but it was just something that I was really focused on trying to build that relationship and making sure we had a good working relationship to work on.
And these are conversations that I think a lot of times are had kind of privately, things that I've noticed just back and forth with business leaders, city officials, whatever you want to say on that end. I would argue that the last year for the chamber is the best I've seen in my time in Carroll, and I bet you could go even further than back since the turn of the millennium. It was really remarkable 2023, I think, for the Carroll Chamber and CCGP, which obviously benefits Carroll at large. So it is worth saying that. So
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you just have to look for it. Not everything they do is very visible. So keep an eye on that.
Right.
To add on to that, I don't think that's just a peak for us. I think that's a base floor for us. I think that's
a starting point.
And yes, I am a glass half full guy, but I think that's where we can take that as a launch pad and just keep working to keep.
Right, and I would say that's our intention as well.
So the assessment was pretty brutal on some things. When they went to some things you need to do, they talked about some buildings, like this building definitely needs some improvement. The JCPenney thing, I mean, they're like, just get over it. It's gone. Forget about it and move on. But they also talked about things like gathering spaces, like outdoor event spaces. Is that one of the top priorities for you guys?
So there's a space in between the movie theater and just around the corner that we have been talking with Fridley's about, and there's an opportunity there. And, we know the movie theater might want to expand sometimes, so we have to be careful what we do in that space. But we can certainly do something, that will last 5-7 years, however long we can have that space. So I think there are opportunities to create green spaces and gathering spaces, maybe soften up some spaces, if you will. But we've got a depot area too, a nice green space that doesn't get used. That's something that we're talking about as well. Is what can we do with that space? And we've been talking about that for a couple of years now.
That's where the city comes in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and we're looking at. I think one of the other things I thought was pretty interesting in there is they talked about artwork, and I think there's an opportunity where maybe we can look at putting together a plan to put some artwork along Adams Street and maybe on Fifth Street a little bit, but more Adams Street just because that is that downtown area, and to make that even more of a destination type place for people to go to. I think the big priorities from my perspective going forward with this are kind of twofold. One is that really not necessarily a marketing plan that the chamber does, but kind of a big marketing plan for the entire community. And I think that's from my perspective one of the big things going forward. And the other part is maybe doing more of a bigger facade program than what we're doing. Obviously, I'm sorry, Dane, but you got hit pretty hard with Brown Shoe Fit. But maybe doing a partnership with Brown Shoe Fit there and maybe making that crown jewel show. This is our first, and this is our big one. We're probably not going to do one quite that big again, but we can still start looking at other facades and be partners with them to make those facades better too.
The city almost needs to be the first domino in the row, right? You kind of have to get that ball rolling, and then the people next to whoever your first project is, be it Browns or whoever, they look at how nice their building is and goes, oh, okay, maybe I won't get, I'm just making up numbers here, $10,000, but if I do it now, I'll get $8,000 or something like that. And then as it decreases, you kind of saw it with the infill housing program as well. When you first got started, I think you had, it was before your time with the city, Aaron, but I think it was like 10 infill housing program slots, and then you guys expanded it, right, to 20.
Yeah, we had 20 total.
Yeah,
yep.
But you got that ball rolling, and you're like, wow, this is working, and you keep going. So it's kind of that first domino effect. I think it's worth pointing out with the report that all these done are set in themes. So when we're talking about buildings, they're talking about like setting up like a design artwork or design standard, that type of stuff. So really, this conversation is great. Go read the report, guys. It's 41 pages. It's an easy read, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it was really a good insight into our community that you can only get from having people that have an idea of what communities are and about to come in and go, okay, check the brakes here a little bit. It's not as bad as what you think. There are things we can do and do better, but those are good things that we can build on, not necessarily the sky is falling.
There's one theme that I thought was interesting. The title for the theme was capacity, and which that kind of at front you go, what does that even mean? And as you kind of dig into it, it makes more sense. But if you could talk about Carroll's capacity when it comes to downtown revitalization, what does that mean, and where does Carroll's capacity stand?
Well, we have capacity to do a lot of things downtown. There's empty buildings, certainly, that we all know about and we can look at. There are thoughts and ideas of what can go in those buildings. The downtown resource team talked about things that keep people coming back downtown. And a bakery, for instance, is one of those things that drive people back downtown on a regular basis, or a coffee shop or something like that. And while people are downtown, they're getting exposed to other stores that are there. So there are definitely things that we can do, and there's opportunities. And we need to do what makes sense and step forward with a plan.
Thomas Plaza was another one they brought up that this needs attention because it still looks like it's from the 70s.
Right.
Yep.
So what is there anything going forward? Is that a priority?
It will be. I think that'll be more of that next phase facade programs that we'll work with, and it'll be part of that. The facade program is twofold. You've got the city/CCGP chamber, but you've also got to have the property owner be involved too. So we've got to do some work there I think we've got Brown Shoe Fit's attention, so we'll be okay there. But
are all those businesses individually, they own those buildings, or somebody else owns the building?
One building owner. Okay. To piggyback on what Kimberly said, when you talk about, I forgot the word.
Capacity.
Capacity, thank you. What they said in there, they talked about we are a regional hub. We have a large draw from along a good region of folks, and that's what to me builds our capacity, is because the more people we draw, the more capacity we have for different businesses and stuff like that. Retail Coach, the study that they did along with recruitment didn't work out so well, but the information we got from them was really important for us to show us what our capacity is.
They made an interesting note, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it, as they talk about how Carroll kind of falls in a bit of a gap, where it's a bit too big to apply for like small community grants, but it's not as big as a place like Burlington or Fort Dodge that has a larger tax base to pull from. And so you're kind of in that middle ground in terms of we can't quite afford to hire like a true full-time professional that would solely be like just downtown business facade development. So on the other side, it's a little bit too big to get grants to help fund that type of program. Is there any solutions to that problem, or is this something you're going to have to find a path forward through?
I think it's a partnership that us and CCGP needs to work on going forward. I think we're working on it, and we don't have a lot of good solutions right this minute, but we're working on an agreement. We've got some things with Jim Thompson as he's kind of helping us guide us through that to where we'll have I think down the road, a position that's kind of a 50-50 split between city and CCGP, where it's economic development, stuff like that for the city, maybe facade stuff or grant writing and stuff with CCGP, and then that's kind of what our focus is on that answer going forward.
We could talk for a long time about everything that's in the report, but I do want to touch on this one. Adams Street traffic light. That's you, Aaron. That's the city doing that study.
That's right.
Yep.
Say that again.
They said turn it back on. That was their
here's my response to Jim Thompson. I respectfully disagree. There are some issues there that regarding pedestrians. There are some issues with businesses, but I think we can overcome a lot of those things with different things. And that's kind of where we're going. I think the one other thing that I think really hit on with this downtown facade or the downtown assessment is we have very little wayfinding signs to say, hey, this is our downtown. And that is, to me, part of the priority that we really need to do with our marketing plan is we got to tell people this is where this is where the downtown is, and this is where you need to go.
That seems pretty simple.
Yes, it is. But that street light is not a wayfinding sign. It doesn't tell people this is where you go. The other side of that is the pedestrian traffic and stuff like that. We can put up pedestrian crossing signs. You hit the button and you start getting flashing red lights as there's somebody in the crosswalk. I think that's as good or better than a traffic light also. So I think there's ways to mitigate that argument and quite frankly, it's saving the city money because traffic lights are expensive. But we can, at a lesser cost, put those things in and still give everybody essentially what they're asking for.
Prior to the light closure, I just kind of did my own little personal experiment on it. Obviously, if you're coming from the west, turning onto Adams is easy. It's a right-hand turn, doesn't really affect you at all. But coming from the east, it gets a little bit tougher, potentially, in theory, right? I did some timing. There's no noticeable difference in wait times between turns. It's slightly longer, but the difference is seconds.
We have a council member that has some time on his hands and has done some studies with a stopwatch sitting at the corner. And
he went farther than I did.
Yeah. And sitting there, he's watched people, and nobody's had to wait more than 30 seconds, which is actually what the stoplight was. So if you're making a left turn, you don't have to wait more than 30 seconds. If you're coming south on Adams Street and you're going to go across, I've sat there and counted. I've never made it past 20 when I'm counting. But, I get past 10 and I lose fingers and stuff. So it might take me longer to count to 20 than just 20 seconds.
I did notice a shoe in the street. So
it takes you a while to take the shoes and socks off.
So the pedestrian thing is a real serious issue and that we're taking seriously. The traffic issue is important to us. And quite frankly, the commercial part of it is important too. So we're trying to balance all of those things. And I think there's ways to make everybody happy. It might not look the same. Not everybody gets what they want and everything. It's a negotiation. It's kind of a balance. But I think in the end, we can get everybody what they need and be a benefit to everybody in the end.
All right, two more quick things. By the way, you said this whole study cost $2,500.
Right.
That's an unbelievable value.
Right, all in, all done, $2,500.
And to get all this information via an independent view is tremendous. So kudos to you guys on that. Last thing I got is Kimberly waffled on the Super Bowl. 49ers Chiefs, Aaron. Give me the answer. Who's winning?
Easy answer. Who has the most Hawks on their team?
You have chosen wisely.
And I will note that their starting quarterback also is from Iowa State. So I'm even. I'm walking the fence in Iowa. I'm going to go with the 49ers.
The 49ers. So got one Chiefs, one 49ers here this morning. Guys, thanks so much. We could talk a lot about. We didn't even hit Hub 712 and Court Classic and all that other stuff.
I'll be wrangling her after this.
Okay.
She ain't getting out without talking about it.
They got plenty more interview to go, but we are out of time. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate a great conversation this morning. Aaron Kooiker and Kimberly Tiefenthaler with our interview this morning here on KCIM.